Okay.
All right, guys, welcome to our workshop on AI tools for library research. My name is Christopher Jimenez. I am the web services librarian here at FIU Libraries, and I'm joined by my colleagues, Frank and Melissa. Go ahead and introduce yourselves.
I am Melissa Del Castillo. I'm the virtual learning and outreach librarian
Hi,
at the Great.
everybody. I'm Frank Fajardo, Assistant Director, Medical Library.
All right, and we're deriving this workshop based on our library.fiu.edu/AI tools LibGuide. So if you go to library.fiu.edu/AI tools, or you grab your phone and scan that QR code, you'll see the basic outline and a lot of the text that's going to be in our slides that we're not really going to read. That will be there for you to review later. Okay, so if we can get into our next slide. We will get started here. Oh, here's our agenda, just so you know. I mean, again, that's all on the LibGuide. So we're going to talk about AI, assessing AI, AI uses, asking AI, attributing AI, and of course, we're going to try to get right into the demonstration as quickly as we can, okay? Next slide, please. And then here again, we're going to begin our discussion about AI. So we do want to get kind of a bit of a background so we are all on the same page. We know what we're talking about when we say AI. We're not necessarily, artificial intelligence has been with us for decades now, right? I think the first big thing that like I recall is like AI assistants, like the voice assistants. You talk to Alexa, you talk to Siri, you talk to and they go out and they find information and then come back to you and it sounds very humanizing and very real. Basically AI is the attempt to make technology behave and act more human-like, right? And of course, within the past couple of years, we've seen significant leaps and bounds in generative AI and how and LLMs and how those work. So when we talk about AI, and let's go ahead and move on to the next slide, we really do need to start with a definition, right? What are we talking about when we as librarians are teaching you and talking to you about AI literacy? And when we talk about AI literacy, I have a couple definitions here, but basically we're talking about the competencies to understand AI that will lead to critical thinking and evaluation and reflection on that given tool, which ultimately helps our students to use the tool to meet your needs both ethically and efficiently. Okay, so that's what we're focused on here. Okay, it's usage, evaluation, and understanding. Next slide, please. So when we present AI literacy, we're presenting this discussion as a progressive skill set, right? So we aim to equip you with the practical skills for both your academic journey as well as your future professional endeavors, right? So these skills should help you to efficiently and ethically choose and deploy the generative AI tools or really any AI tools, right? Another description for these skill sets can be is conscious contemplation, right? Conscious contemplation, where we have thoughtful and deliberate consideration of the implications and uses of generative AI. So the first step here, moving from left to right, is to demystify, right? So we have Arthur C. Clarke once said that any sufficiently advanced technology is simply indistinguishable from magic, right? But ChatGPT, we know, is not sorcery. When you learn that generative AI is, autocomplete on steroids, you realize that while it's not actually thinking through problems or producing solutions, it is rather good with words and can generate a logical sequence of related words on a given topic, right? You describe the topic just right, and the algorithm does the rest. It's funny, I was reflecting on this a few months ago, of this whole, autocomplete on steroids thing, and it's like, what 3, 4 years ago we were saying, damn you autocomplete when we're texting somebody and it like changes the word for me. It's the predictive text, and now we're going to it for like medical advice or whatever. Don't do that. But we're going to it for yeah, don't do it for legal advice either, right? For information. And are we really should we be taking it at its word? Short answer. Too long didn't read, right? No, but we can use it effectively if we understand what it's doing and understand how to prompt it appropriately. Next is the demythologize aspect, right? To recognize the AI utopia and dystopia debate, right? So we can see through the benefits and dangers and allow us to move from the AI hype into AI reality. Again, this links back to that first point where we understand AI and LLMs. And that understanding is tied to balancing this hype with its actual practical uses. Um, I recently heard that the greatest bias in AI use is the human inferiority complex, right? Where we don't think that we can do as good as the computer is, so we're just gonna listen to the computer, right? No, go ahead and use your brains to actually critically evaluate what it's giving you, what it's sourcing, and make an effective decision based on the talents that you bring to the table, not based on what you're receiving from the AI. So don't put the computers on a pedestal. Learn to develop and to trust your own instincts. Next, we move on to the demonstration, right? So we're going to get into an expanded demonstration of several AI tools for research, right? But first, we want to set a few expectations. There are general purpose tools, right? That we have like chat, like Microsoft Copilot, which is subsidized by the university, right? So we should all have access to Copilot, and it acts as a general AI tool. Basically, you can use it for many different purposes. It may not be the best at any one thing, but it does a decent job, right, of getting at all those aspects. Next, we have like audio visual tools. So these are tools that, while let's say a Copilot can generate an image for you, maybe something like Adobe Firefly might be a more effective tool, more professional tools that's curated specifically for like the visual part. And there are some uh, other tools that are specifically programmed for video as well and audio. And then there are research tools. So research tools, and we're going to get into more of those because we are, after all, talking about AI's tools for library research. So we'll get into some of those as we move along. We'll show you how those tools fit into the research process and how you can deploy them. And then finally, democratized skill set. So, the other side of that demonstrable skill set is the democratized skill set. So, demonstrable tells us, what can be done with AI. The democratizing skill set is what should be done with AI. And we know that literacy is always more about society than it is about academia, right? So we're talking about things like confirmation bias, sources and misinformation, privacy, profit motives. These all play into that those ethical dimensions that we need to consider when choosing and using AI tools in the research process. So if I can get the next slide, I think we're going to go into assessing AI. So again, when we're using this kind of ties into the democratizing skill set. We're looking at what comes out, what are we getting from AI, and how do we evaluate that? So next slide, please. I'm still talking about these challenges, right? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Just making sure I'm not stepping on anybody else's toes. I do have co-presenters after all, and feel free to jump in at any point. So, we asked the question, like, is AI too problematic? And this is something that you really need to have a handle on before you get into actually using the tools, right? So, sharpen your critical thinking skills, your ability to evaluate, and know what some of the problems are. Because if you don't know what the problems are, you won't be able to spot it. Like, you'll have no chance. Even knowing some of the problems, you might still be out of your depth. I was recently in a keynote where it was pointed out, right, that the outputs look great. The systems are designed to act like a professional and to be super confident. And if I don't know much about civil engineering and I ask it a civil engineering question, the answer sounds like a great thing because I don't know anything about civil engineering. If I ask it about, academic freedom and within the library context, I can easily point out, oh, wait, that's wrong, or hey, that the AAUP says something different, or whatever. So if you're asking a question within your expertise, you'll be able to see some of these things a lot easier than if you're asking it a question that's well outside your expertise. I'm sure if Frank asked it a question about medical research, and it came up with some stuff, he'll be able to point out some things. But then what do you do with that? Right? That's the next question is what do you do with it? Right? So if you're asking it a question, you're within your research scope, and you're seeing that you've got some issues. Well, maybe don't take the first answer is obviously duh. But then how do you can reprompt it. You can ask it a question. You can say, hey, wait, I know this from this particular article or from this particular association. How does that factor into your answer now? And then you have a conversation and it refines what it gives you, right? I mean, I've got a bunch of questions here and we can certainly go through, but this final one, this grounded versus ungrounded AI is actually pretty critical, right? So as we're using these tools, the tools we're going to really present to you are definitely going to be grounded, right? And I think I'm not sure if I even have a good example of ungrounded AI any longer. Because most of our tools now, at the very least, maintain an active connection to the web, right? Where they can go out to the internet. And of course, we know that there are problems with that, right? As AI is trained on active, websites and just finding any kind of content it can get its spiders, its bots on into. We know that not all information is created equal, right? Some is more authoritative, some is more grounded in research, more grounded in fact, and some is kind of just out there. So some of the tools that we're going to show you are more grounded within a corpus, right? Something like the databases that we have in our A to Z list, things like Elicit, and other tools, or even EndNote, is grounded in the citations that you have brought in. Zotero as well, citations by from a community of scholars, where now, okay, we can have some more confidence in the actual corpus that the AI is drawing from, to be able to kind of get away from some of this real versus fake and that sort of thing. Next slide, please. Okay.
So a good thing that Chris, you brought this up, and I kind of want to jump in and stuff because we talk about in medicine, sometimes we do get some searches, while this technology has improved significantly, and every time that we present on this topic, it keeps on getting better and better, but hallucinations still exist. They still come up in searches, and sometimes, I know that sometimes on a lit search that I'm working on, whether it's with a faculty member or one of our residents and stuff, and it's a wild goose. We're trying to find a legit citation or reference, and it just didn't exist because, like you said, it's an autocorrect on
Right.
steroids. And sometimes, yeah, it's getting better, and there is grounded AI versus ungrounded, but it still exists, and that's a potential that we have to keep cautiously be aware of. Yes.
Yeah, I want to acknowledge that hallucinations, while they've been minimized, it's getting better, but there will always be that aspect, right? We will always have that aspect with us, even though it's better, it's better, it's better. And maybe if you drop a file in and you're working specifically with a limited scope, it's going to be real accurate. Still, like this third bullet point in the center here, AI does not understand the authority of sources. It's literally just mathematically programming, like predicting the next character to come up in a sentence, letter by letter, word by word, right, sentence by sentence, So it's not saying, oh, this is a better source, so I'm going to pull from here first. It's just saying what words are usually put together when they're talking about a specific topic. There's also the ethical questions about the digital divide, right? Free services, who's going to have access to, these services as they are. I mean, they're all fee-based now. especially definitely if you want something that's good, right? That, access to GPT-5 or better. And of course, the free versions aren't as reliable, aren't as good, don't do the deep research, right? It's so there's that inequity, right? That plays into it. There's the inequities that we're seeing with environmental issues, where basically as water is being used up in these huge data centers, which are built in economically poor areas, right? It's affecting the aquifer there, low water pressure for the residents in the area. So, that is an inequity that we're seeing even now, right? And is the value really worth it, right? Is it worth it to have, AI generate texts for our social media posts at the cost of the water pressure for our neighbors? Any other? Certainly when we're thinking about ethical aspects of AI in our research process, that's when we get into attributing AI, right? And saying, okay, we need to make sure people are clear as we're writing that we use AI, how it was used, if we ever like pull directly verbatim from AI, like how do we quote that? How do we reference that? How do we let other people, know that this is what we used within within our papers or presentations and so on.
And I'll
Right.
be going over that.
Yeah. Yeah. Next slide. Oh, here we go. AI uses.
So I think I take over this portion right here. So this is, so we talk about uses, and of course there's problematic aspects, right? We have to be aware of that. But if you use AI responsibly, cautiously, like we just talked about, there's a lot of benefits to using it, and especially when it comes time for your research, because it could be a time saver. It does help you in terms of like inspiration. It could be your muse sometimes, or help with creativity, or in other aspects too. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that, the benefits of AI, and where that would probably be best used in the research process. So we talk about searching, right? How it can help you with searching and going through or sifting through a large amounts of data, going through databases, probably suggesting which is the best for you to use depending on your topic, your subject area, whatnot, evaluating information. Okay. But obviously, that's something too. You also have to be, again, use critical thinking. Writing obviously been amazing in terms of how it's helped folks, with writing and the creative process and organization. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit more about those different areas in the next couple of slides. Okay, so searching, definitely beneficial. It can provide more detail in terms of than Google. If you were to search Google alone, just putting in a topic or something like that, you're going to get a lot of stuff not necessarily relevant, right? But Google does use Gemini in the background, so it's that little bit that's going to summarize for you and probably give you some citations or references that you can go and look at. An example of grounded AI, that's kind of nice to see that instead of going through all those different ads, maybe Wikipedia pages, who knows. So it could definitely help in that aspect. Define and translate. I mean, whatever language you're searching in, you put something into any one of these large language models, and out it goes, and it just translates it to English or any other language that you choose, and record speed. It's amazing. It could also suggest further reading or provide a reading list for you on that particular topic. That's nice, and it does an excellent job of summarizing, something, especially large amounts of data. And if you are, someone that's pressed for time, you need something in quick bullet points, that's, one of the suggestions that's great there, right there. Accessible formats, definitely. For those that have any sort of impairments or visible, that's something that it could help out too. Putting stuff into accessible formats. That's very nice. You could also ask it to refine your searches. I'm not looking for this, but maybe identify more sources of this, and you could just change the prompts and refine that constantly. To change. One aspect that I love when it comes to searching is suggesting synonyms. Especially, I'm working on a lit search. I'm kind of like, okay, what is another way of, thinking about this concept, this subject? What can I do here? What haven't I thought of in terms of my keywords or, or my subject terms? That's something that it could help you in that aspect too. So that's something too that can help with the searching. Evaluating, giving advice, definitely not your therapist, but it could, give you advice on a topic or something, maybe give you different perspectives on a, maybe a pro or con, especially if you're writing some sort of a paper or you have to present different perspectives or something. Sometimes, you're stuck on something and you're like, I never thought of it this way. This is a good thing that, you could use these tools for. Anticipating problems, what might go wrong if, right? Methods to test a hypothesis, especially those that are involved in the sciences. That's a nice thing for a use there. Checking for biases, also to generating a quiz or evaluating your knowledge. I know our students, at least at the med school, they use some of these tools to create test questions, either for shelf exams or for whatever block of the subject that they're on or wherever they're working for class. Uh, you know, Generate some questions for this topic, especially if I'm weak in a certain area, I'm working on my microbiology, my genetics or whatever, some questions or suggestions, especially students too that are studying for the STEP board exams. That's something that they've told me that they found very useful when using AI, and creating questions. Okay. So, and of course, again, back to summarizing work, large amounts of data, summarize in nice bullet points. You could ask it to provide more detail, give you less detail. Really, it's up to you. And then, of course, the writing. You want to start on a topic or writing something. Maybe that might be something very difficult for someone, suggesting an outline, how to approach a topic. That's something, maybe feedback. That's something too that helps out. The grammar and the punctuation. That's nice. Also, reformatting something for a specific type of audience. Maybe changing the tone, which we'll talk a little bit later. That's something that's nice. Something sometimes too, if you are, you need to create something like a flyer or some sort of a marketing plan or something. That's something that these tools can help you out with. Something like a jazzy title or a slogan. You need something to, catch somebody's eye, or wordsmith something. That's very nice too. Helping you out with emails. Sometimes depending on the audience, you might need a little bit of help, especially if it's something of a sensitive nature, or I want to address this to leadership versus just like a colleague. That's something that you could think about. And of course, generating different topics and ideas. Okay. Organization, excellent. Obviously, I mentioned before students with test taking, and maybe creating some sort of a timetable or a study aid on a particular topic, that you need help with. Summarizing and paraphrasing. We were just talking about this before the meeting started. Even this meeting right here is being transcribed by AI. Zoom is doing that. And how many of you guys have like led a meeting or been in a meeting and you ask somebody to take minutes? Nobody, you hear crickets. Nobody wants to do that. Now, it's incredible what technology has done, because now with the latest version of Zoom, or even, I believe, even Teams, you're able to get that all summarized and you just go back, edit the transcript. And in some cases, it does produce action items for the next meeting or the next time that you meet. So that's excellent. I mean, that was always something that was like, oh, I don't want to take minutes. But it's, something that it's nice that it does that in the background. Again, changing the tone of a sentence, the wordsmithing, definitely, requesting an outline answer, something if you're having difficulty with, excellent. All these tools really they're time savers and maybe can make you a little bit more efficient in those answers or what your plan of actions are. So asking AI, so important. Prompt engineering it's a curriculum now. It's part of our lives. You have to ask, be very, very, intentional, very judicious, very, cautious in the way that you ask these tools what to do, how to do it. So very important to think about that when you're working with any one of these tools. And it's, again, even now, even at FIU, I know that there's courses that students that you can like just learn about prompt engineering. Even for faculty, for students, there's a lot of those things that are available now. And I'm sure we're going to see more of that in the near future. So to help you with that, there was by Lowe about a couple of years ago in 2023 developed a framework, the CLEAR framework for prompt engineering. And CLEAR just stands for concise, logical, explicit, adaptive, and reflexive. Okay. Be concise, be brief in what you're asking it. For example, please provide me with an extensive discussion on the factors that contributed to the economic growth of China in the last few decades. That's going to be, who knows what you're going to get from that versus like identify factors behind China's recent economic growth. Be something brief, very careful with that. Logical, something that follows, it's a logical flow and order of ideas, like, explain the scientific method, everything from a hypothesis to drawing conclusions. Explicit, very, I want you to list something. I want you to be very clear on this. This is very important. Adaptive. Sometimes you ask it something, depending on the tool, you're going to get something, an output that not necessarily is what you want. So you have to be able to go back and give it commands to maybe think and refine something over and over again until you get what you want. And of course, reflexive. Be careful, what you get. That's not necessarily, go through it, think critically. This is the output that I want. This is correct. This is accurate. Just make sure that you're on top of that. And Chris, want chime in on that one.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure that it was clear, right? Clear, that as our tools get better, the concise, the logical, the explicit, that's becoming a little bit less important, right? The models are doing a much better job of understanding human language and not needing like all these details laid out explicitly. It's still better. It's still better to do that. But it's more forgiving. The adaptive and reflexive are human skills that you need to have and deploy no matter what. No matter how good the tools get, you're still, adapting, you're still, reflecting on what comes back and iterating, right? Which is just part of
Iterative,
a standard
exactly.
research process anyway. So I want to make sure that was clear.
Thank you. Excellent. Teamwork, that excellent right there. Very iterative, exactly. That's so just making sure you get this output. And yes, the technology is improving every single time that we present about this topic. It's changing, it's getting better, it's incredible. And it's learning. It's learning all the time. So the next time that you might see this presentation or in some sort of, depending, it's going to change again. Okay. So the action prompts, that's something that you see constantly, can you write something? Can you explain this? Can you summarize? These are phrases that you usually take, think about the verb exactly. That's something that you want to consider when you're putting together these prompts. You have to tell it exactly what you want it to do. And even then, you still have to go back and maybe change things, okay? Like I was mentioning before, clarifying the tone, making something more formal, more academic, something more humorous. These are things that you want to consider, and it's certainly capable of doing it. It's incredible how it does it. And it even seems like, as I said, learning, even your style of writing, it's learning. So the more inputs and the more that you have these interactions with it, it's learning at a rapid pace. So those action prompts, that's something that you think about when using these tools. The what prompts, the what, the when, the where, the who, what are the leading causes of this, let's say. That's something that I see a lot in medicine. When you're trying to diagnose something, that what are the leading causes, what is a prognosis, but also to the creative aspect. What's a good image or an icon or something that I could put into this flyer for this marketing campaign? It's something that I'm going to use in the future. And it's very nice. And that's something too, even with the image generation, and probably Melissa could speak to that, more. It's incredible what it does, the images that it generates. And I don't even know, we were limited to before, like how many images it could generate in a day, but I don't even know if that's something that's changed now, probably. And definitely searching and coding with data sets. I've seen this, especially working with some of the students, how it could just go through an entire data set. And we're talking large amounts of data and can summarize in nanoseconds. Incredible, incredible. So that's something we're going to see continuously to evolve, you know, as this technology progresses and it gets better and better and advances. So we're going to change it up to attributing AI.
Thank you. So I'm going to speak a little bit about attributing AI because we're in an academic institution and we need to think academically, which would be using proper attribution. We learn this when we're formatting our citations, that you need to acknowledge where you received a source. The same goes for AI when you've used these tools. So next slide. Oh, one back. One forward. Oh, AI disclosure statements. So this is something that it has been recently added to your publishing workflow. As a scholar, your publications, if you are using these AI tools, you should be acknowledging their use. And when you publish an article, you can go to the journal of the article, and they usually have some type of AI disclosure statement rules. So what you can do is follow this kind of loose structure. So, you know, what was used exactly. So even including the full, not just saying generative AI, but saying Microsoft Copilot. How were you using it and when did you use it? So here are a couple different samples. So this paper was produced with drafting support from Microsoft Copilot. That means you were in your initial stages, you let Microsoft Copilot help you to draft text. That also gives an insight into, you did not use this to create the final product, the final output. You used it to help you draft, and then you were, as a human, going in, interacting with the text, using your skills as a scholar to transform the content into your own. Here's another one. Portions of this text were generated by ChatGPT to provide the initial drafts and ideas, which were then reviewed and edited by the author. So letting it know what you used exactly, how you used it, and when you used it. Those are the three key items for AI disclosure statements. And you can look at individual journals to find out if they have specific components or a flow that they or prescribed order in which to provide this statement. And also be aware that you could possibly be trying to submit a journal article to a publisher that does not want you to use AI in any respect. And that's important to know. You do not want to get into, using AI and not disclosing how you used it and then submitting it to a journal that does not want AI to be used in any way when you're interacting with your research. Did you have a question, Frank?
No, that you brought up exactly the non-human authors policy that you see, at least I've seen it in my area. And also what you talk about, like disclosure, some of them also want you to include the exact prompt that you wrote as part of the attribution. You have to be very, very clear and specific and transparent. So just wanted to add that. Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely double check with any of the publishers of any journal that you are submitting your manuscript to, because they may have individual rules that are very specific to that journal. Just like some journals are very explicit on how they want you to do the formatting and the citations. This is just another piece of that publishing workflow that you would need to do to submit your work to these different journals. Next slide. So if you were to cite AI in your work, if you used a big piece, these are the types of things that you might want to start to collect. An example of this would be if you are writing an article about how ChatGPT generates content, you are definitely going to be quoting ChatGPT because you're actually using that content to then do, some kind of critical evaluation. So if you wanted to cite ChatGPT as a source, think about, you definitely want to write down when it is that you asked it. And that's very important. Just like if you were, citing a newspaper one day to the next, answers may be different. The same with ChatGPT and a lot of these Gen AIs. If you ask it a question today, and then you ask the question tomorrow, the answers could be very different. Also, it is learning from you. And if you are interacting with it and it's keeping a record of how you're interacting with it, then that date becomes very important. But definitely check with the specific citation format. If you go to our, I think Chris just put it into the chat, this AI tools LibGuide has a few examples of MLA, APA, Chicago, and how they are asking you to create your citation when you're using these generative AI outputs. So I know this will be changing, and probably the next edition for most of the citation formats will include generated content from AI, just like it would a book, an article, a video, an interview. So be on the lookout for that. I definitely foresee that in the future. But all of them have a working model to create a citation. And a lot of times it will be, what is the prompt, the exact prompt that you used? And what date was it? And that type of thing. So, double check with the individual format, MLA, APA, MA. Is it AMA have one? Probably. Yes, of course. So I think all of them have a working model of how they want you to cite generative AI. I think that's wrapping it up, and we get to do the fun stuff now. Is that correct? If you do next slide. Just to let you know, these are the demonstrations that we're going to be doing. We're going to look at Copilot, since that's something that the university provides, and it is slowly being integrated into all of the Microsoft Office 365s. This was a process that is just now coming about, where you could find it in PowerPoint, Excel, Word, Outlook, Teams. So all of the Microsoft products, you're seeing this rollout of Copilot. I'll be showing you a little bit of Google Gemini and how that integrates with Google Docs. We'll look at Quillbot, which is an excellent AI assistant when you're doing writing and literature reviews and that type of work. And then I'm going to show Research Rabbit, which is a citation generator AI. And then I'll pass it on to Chris, who's going to be doing Elicit and a look at JSTOR, which is a database that uses AI. So I'm going to go ahead, and if you want to stop sharing, I am going to share my whole screen, my whole desktop, because there are pop-ups and I don't want you to miss the pop-ups. So does everybody see my entire screen? Okay, hold on, let me just close this. Sorry about that. So let it start with Copilot. I have it as a bookmark, and I just want to make sure it has me logged in already, but what it will do is it'll prompt you whether you're using this personal or for work. And if you are using it for work and for scholarly activities, You can log in just like you log into the databases with your credentials. So you would choose the SSO signage, enter in your username, password, just like you do for email, and you would have access to Microsoft Copilot on the web. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write a paper about copyright and generative AI, because that is a big topic in the art world. So what I could do is, if I'm writing my paper, because sometimes I think the hardest thing is getting started, right? So maybe I'm doing an outline for a research paper. See, I'm being very explicit, telling it exactly what I want on copyright and Gen AI art. So what it's doing for me right now is kind of, hitting all of the points in the paper that I should probably think about adding to my research. So, of course, I need to do a little background. What would I include in an introduction? And this, if I was going to attribute, I could say that I used Microsoft Copilot to help to draft a research paper or a research process, because I'm definitely, not going to just be copy pasting this anywhere. This bit is just for me to organize my thoughts, to kind of make sure that I'm hitting all the points I need to hit. Oh, great idea. I should include some case studies, some case law, because there have been some decided case law when it comes to generative AI and copyright. What are the organizations that I need to look into? So this is giving me a really, a good look at what I should include in my paper. And then I could definitely interact with what it has generated. So maybe I look at this and I'm like, this is way too complicated. So maybe I say rewrite, because I'm interacting now. I'm being adaptive. I'm being reflexive. Rewrite for a short essay. So now I definitely don't have as much content, but it's still, using what I did as that original prompt. I asked it to rewrite it. I can also ask it to create a power presentation outline. So I once I have this, I can interact with the text. And you'll notice on the side here, I have all my conversations that I have with Copilot. So, once I'm logged in, that will be on the left-hand side, and I can, go back to another iteration of output from Microsoft Copilot. And it'll be saved, the work that I've done and the prompts that I've created. So this is, giving me a slide by slide. If I was creating this copyright in Gen AI presentation, maybe for a beginning art undergraduate course, I have it here. It's also, I could tell it to concentrate more on authorship. Because that's what they really are interested in. I know that as a fact. I've been in some of the art classes, and I can just interact with this outputted text, and now it's really delving into what it means to be an author, and is Gen AI an author, what it means for artists who have their work and possibly copyright infringement. So I love this. Like, it's even telling me to find the legal definition of human creativity and originality. So it's really spurring the creative juices. And I think that is why I like using these different Gen AIs, is because it's helping me to better understand and get started, because I think getting started can sometimes be the biggest hurdle when you're writing papers or doing any kind of presentations. So I could definitely use this to kind of think through the different topics that I would want to cover. And this is Copilot. I can also ask it to create an image of a robot. Ooh, cat. Painting. This is something I might want to put in my page. I'll make a self-portrait. Because although I love art, I am not an artist. So when Gen AI came around and I was able to create fun images, and I wasn't searching or having to like worry about trying to do it myself, I could just have any of the ChatGPT uses, I believe, is it DALL-E 3? I'm not sure what iteration it's on. Midjourney. I also love Canva, is another really great art generator in their magic media. And it's, let's see, it usually gives me a couple of examples to choose from. Oh, I like this like slow reveal. And like we mentioned earlier, you can use this today and receive something like this, or the following day you get something totally different. It is not a 1 + 1 = 2. It's a 1 + 1 = this 2 or that 2, or maybe this other 2, or this other 2. Oh, here I go. So I have this little, I guess it's taking its time, but here's my cat robot artist doing a self-portrait. So if I wanted to use these images, and I would recommend, this is an example of when it's perfectly fine to cite Gen AI. I would just put a little caption under this, created with Microsoft Copilot. And that way, I'm not, claiming that this is my own creation, that I created this, but also I'm not infringing on the copyright of any artists that have created images out there. I could just, plainly say created with Microsoft Copilot, and that would be fine in a presentation. That's cute. That's very cute. And then, of course, I could go in and say, use pastel colors or make this more photographic realist, So interacting is very important when you're creating these prompts, is going back and forth with the output you receive. So that is Copilot. I think I'm going to move to the next one, which is Google Gemini. But let's first, I think I grabbed one paragraph about copyright in Gen AI, but let's have it generate another paragraph for me. So being very explicit, I want a paragraph. I don't want like, oh, it's even like letting me know, and I want to make art as part of that. So not just the writing, but the actual art. So I'm being explicit on what I want. And here I have this paragraph. I'm going to copy this. And you could also do this in Word, because now that Copilot is available in Word documents and PowerPoints. You can use this in Word and all the other Microsoft Office products. I'm just going to say the integration is a little clunkier than it is in Google Docs, and I'll show you. Let's see. So once I have this, actually, you know what? This is a perfect example of generating two different these are both generated, I think, from Copilot. I can in Google Docs using Google Gemini, it's powered by Google Gemini. I can highlight this and this little refine will pop up. Does everyone see that? And I can do things here. It's got a couple of preloaded prompts. So maybe I want to rephrase it. So this is great if I've done this when I'm writing and I've kind of Frankensteined some sentences together, and the flow is not working, and it feels disjointed. I do this rephrase when I'm like creating like a LibGuide and I need to do the little paragraph at the top, or I make some kind of content that's kind of low stakes. I would definitely not use this in a research paper that I would turn in. But there are times and places when you're writing for the web, I would definitely think about using some of these functions. So it has, refine this information. Let's insert that. Let's see, where did it pop it? I hate that it does this. I always know where it pops it because it doesn't leave us space. So now I have a couple paragraphs to work with. I can also do things like I can use this right here to say, like emphasize. Photographers. But I can give it a command here to how to interact with this text. I could tell it, oh, I want 3 sentences. I could tell it, I want to, make this more academic or formal. And I could interact with the text in that response. And as you can see, we're going to go over Quillbot, but I do have a couple of AI assistants kind of working together, so you might see them pop up. Okay, so now this is looking at safeguarding the rights of human creators, including photographers. So let's add this one in here. So it's really easy within Gemini to work with the text. I can also, make this bullets. So, this is something you could probably do on your own, but this just made for quick work, right? It turned it into bullets and summarized it a bit. I could have it say the exact text turn into bullets, or I can have it, one thing I've been doing is when I've been doing citations, I hate it when the citation is all capital letters. You can actually highlight that and say, just make the first letter of each word capitalized. And then now I don't have to go through and rewrite the whole sentence. So you can interact with the text within the Google Doc. Also, it works in Word. However, it is that you need it to do these like tasks that might be really mundane. I've had it do things in Excel where I have problems with pivot tables, like changing the X and the Y. The Excel has a separate pane, and you could ask it, flip the axis, and it'll do it for you. And that's something that I could never figure out on my own, or it would require a ton of work. But yeah, those little details like that. Copilot is great since it's in Gemini. Gemini is also in Google Slides, Google Sheets. So these two assistants are kind of ubiquitous within all the products of that, specific content provider, Google or Microsoft Copilot. We're gonna look at this text, and we're gonna interact with it in a different way. We're gonna use Quillbot, which is an AI assistant. Is this my Quillbot? No, that's Grammarly. That's another one of mine that is fighting. So right now I think I have 3 running. I have Grammarly Go, I have Google Gemini, and this is my Quillbot assistant. So these Quillbot can be used within other content. You can add Quillbot to both Word and Grammarly, and then you can have a fight with all of your AI assistants, just like if you're using multiple citation managers. But this will go through and help me to make sure that my grammar and punctuation is correct. I can choose to ignore it, or I could do what it is asking me to do. But let's go to Quillbot, because this one is one that I used when I was writing my paper for the literature review and summarization. This one is excellent for summarization. So as you can see, it's just like our citation managers, where it knows how I'm using it. It knows that I'm on a Mac, and I do have it installed on the Mac. Just like if you were to try to download Zotero, it recognizes what operating system you're on. But I have already logged on, and I have already downloaded that. I am going to use this paraphrasing tool. And I have 2 ways to use it. I can paste the text, or if I had a doc, I could upload the doc. The one issue that I'm going to say is that between the fee and the free, size is what is important. So if it is a large file, it will let me know that I've hit my limit. It will say that it's only allowed so many characters, and you would need to upgrade to the premium. I know Chris spoke about the digital divide, and this, I think, is one example of the pay to play. You're going to be able to upload larger docs and use larger amounts of text if you pay for the premium side. What I did is I was reading through a lot of articles. I had them downloaded. I paid for a month while I was doing my literature review, and I think it was $20. Most of them are $20 each, which is not bad for one, but when you're starting to incorporate more than one, that's when it gets a little pricier. So I paid for $20 that specific month, and I was able to upload as many documents to paraphrase, so I could read the paraphrase text rather than having to read the full article to determine which ones I wanted to use in my paper. But I can go ahead and just like we did when we highlighted this, I can paste this text in to my Quillbot. And now I can have it paraphrase. Rephrase. My apologies. So maybe I want, he's got some creative. Okay. So you can interact with this, to be able to, looks like it wants me to pay. So, okay, let's scooch out of there. Let's scooch out of the paraphrase. Let's go to my favorite one, which is, if you want to check your text to see if it looks like it was written by AI, you can do this. So if I were to come to this paragraph here, it does need a certain amount of text to be able, and this was something that Copilot generated, right? And then we rephrased it with Gemini. So it was actually worked on by 2 different Gen AIs. It needs at least 40 words to be able to do it. So now I can ask it to detect AI. Oh, okay. 100% generated AI content. It knows when you're trying to be sneaky and use generated content. It will also, just like the Turnitin, it will do a percentage of human written and AI refined. So if you were to, write a paragraph, have Gen AI rephrase it, it could possibly come up with a percentage of what was created with human and what was created by AI. It also has a really great plagiarism checker. I know that Turnitin is sometimes not available unless your professor is using it. So this is comparable to Turnitin if you wanted to, put some of your text through here to see if it is violating any copyright or plagiarizing any content. And this AI assistant Quillbot is great for the paper writing process as an assistant. Oh, I haven't tried the AI humanizer yet. Oh, I think this is brand new. Okay, so every time I come to some of these tools, there's a new item to explore. I'll have to come back to that and regroup. So we have our paper, and we've been using Quillbot to summarize articles and detect whether there's AI or plagiarism. Now we can move to a citation AI, a citation generator. And the one that I have been using is Research Rabbit, because I teach Zotero along with Frank. We're the Zotero team. And because Zotero is a open source, someone has created this app called Research Rabbit. Oh, it did log me in automatically. I was hoping to get to the, oh no. I guess new things are coming to Research Rabbit. So yeah, with AI, it's hard to keep up. I think we should add that to our list. Keeping up with the iterations of these AI tools can sometimes be a little overwhelming. It may look totally different if you visit today than visit tomorrow. We spoke about hallucinations, and that was one of the key problems with generated content from AI in the very beginning, way back in November 2023, when ChatGPT saw this explosion, was that it was giving fake citations. It was making up books. It was making up articles that seemed real. Sometimes they would even use the right author, but it was a book that they never wrote. So one of the ways that developers have kind of wrangled with this problem is to use a training model of citations that have been added. So the training model is a group of citations. This one is using Zotero's citations. So all of the citations that have been entered into Zotero when people were creating bibliographies. There's also one for EndNote if you were able to join our EndNote presentation, or you can view the recording. EndNote also has this possibility. And what's great is, it's going to minimize citations. I haven't had an issue yet with all my searching, because it's using a bank of citations that has already been created. So someone has added this specific citation of whatever it is that you're looking for. And then for Research Rabbit, what you do is if you have a Zotero, you need a Zotero, or you can just have one citation and enter in that citation. But I've connected my Zotero account. I've imported the collection here, and I have a folder already of AI and art. So in this folder, I have different articles that I've used. And when you find that perfect article that hits all the points, but you're like, where can I find more? Just like this. Maybe this is the one I want to choose. This AI art and its impact on artists. So it has imported all of the citation information. Here I have my abstract, has the authors. This even actually has a link to the PDF. So it's storing my PDFs here. So just like a citation manager would store your PDFs, Research Rabbit also. But what this does is it allows you to find more citations in a couple of different ways. So the first one is similar works. So works like this. Then I have the references from this work. So all the references that are included in the article. And then citations are other papers that have cited this paper. So already I'm getting like a good, more citations provided. So let's go ahead and click on similar work. And what it's doing is searching through the Zotero content of citations and finding papers based on things like the abstract. Also, Zotero does a really great job of using tags and tags that are generated by users. So it's using that to find articles that are similar in nature. So here I have the list. It looks like there's some historical text that I could be using for my background. But let's go down here, and I guess this article that I chose was a little hyperbolic. So here's a great article. Is AI going to replace creative professionals? So just by choosing that one article, I've already found a paper that looks like that it could be, very similar in nature. It doesn't have the PDF but I can click on it to be able to retrieve it. So now I have this other artwork to be, or this other article that I could add if I need to download the PDF. The reason why it wasn't attached is because it's not open access. I'm going to have to use my LibKey. I don't know if everybody has that downloaded, but it's excellent because what it'll do is wherever you are, it'll find access to our institution and you can log in and find the article. So if I wanted to read this, I could download the PDF, and maybe this is another article that I could add to my literature review. I can also go back to the references that are here, are all the references that they have used in their article. Oh, I like this paper. Who is an artist? So this is giving me some good background information to use in my how do you define what an artist is, and how has that changed? So just with one article, I'm finding all these other possibilities to use in my paper. And that is Research Rabbit. I'm going to go ahead and stop my share, see if anybody has any questions before I do about any of these products. And I'm going to hand it over to Chris.
All right. So it's my turn to jump in, talk about some stuff too. I'm going to share my desktop here. And I'm like the worst at screen sharing. So let's see. I'm here in the A to Z list. All right. So we go to library homepage, hover over find, click on the A to Z database list. You're going to get a page like this. Okay. What we have done is we've taken any database that incorporates artificial intelligence within the platform in one way, shape, form, or another. This could be in the form of a research assistant. This could be in the form of, a chat bot. It could be a post search analysis, right? We've taken it and we've given it that filter, right? in this middle drop down, artificial intelligence. Okay, so if it has that, then you know that element, you'll be able to find it from here. So we have a few databases. We probably should do another sweep because they're constantly being added. But here we go. We're gonna look at JSTOR, and you'll see that we have this disclaimer saying that the database includes an AI component, that it employs an LLM to interpret user queries and respond. So I've launched JSTOR already. If you're familiar with JSTOR, this is not a session on JSTOR. This is a session on using pointing out some of these search or post search analysis options. So I've run a search here in JSTOR for Tolkien and Gollum and Valor, right? So I'm interested in Tolkien's writing, specifically when he uses the character Gollum, and how he addresses the question of valor within the text. Okay, so I've got a few hits here, 33 results. And then we've got this queer hobbits, the problem of difference in the Shire. So I'm going to go ahead and open this book chapter, and instantly on the right hand side, if you've turned on their AI research tool, right, it's going to ask the question, right, how is my search related to the text, right? So it goes through, it says, you know, in the document, it does this, that, or the other thing related to valor, and it's rooted within this one document, right? So she gives you your different points where this this analysis is referring, right? So page 5, page 35, and page 36. So now I can ask more questions, right, about the text. So I could say, how does the author, how does, the author address humility, right? Maybe another question I can pose to this. And I think this is prefabricated, so I'm going to go ahead and assume that we've got something. Yeah. So humility is mostly in the character of Bilbo Baggins and others. So okay. So you know we can continue asking questions of the text, and then you know obviously if your initial questions are answered satisfactorily, then you take this article and say, okay, maybe this is something worth more of my time to fully understand. Maybe I'll read this one, right? It's kind of a quick and dirty kind of evaluation of the text, to see if it's warrants further evaluation. This is a fairly simple kind of research tool that's baked into a lot of these databases. So when you go into something like Web of Science, I believe it does a similar thing, as well as some of the other databases that are implementing research assistants. And you can continue going through, and you can even, in this particular platform, we're opening a single chapter. If we wanted to, if we knew, hey, this is the Lord of the Rings, the mythology of power, let me go ahead and ask expand my search not only from in this chapter, but into the other chapters of the book. The next tool I want to show you is Elicit. This is like one of my faves, right? I'm going to go ahead and continue this research within Elicit now. Elicit gives you 3 options. You can generate a research report. You can generate, oops, I just clicked, I didn't mean to. Yeah, you have to upgrade for the systematic review. And then you can also search for papers. Elicit, the free version, which I'm using the free version. I'm not going to pay for this stuff. It will search through like 100 papers and give you like the top 10. If you pay for it, it gives you a lot more. But I'm going to go ahead and copy this prompt here. I'm going to ask, how does J.R.R. Tolkien use the character Gollum to discuss issues of valor and humility? So immediately, as soon as you pop the text into this field, Elicit will run an analysis of your search strategy, and then give you options. So, it was a good research question, pat me on the back, right? But maybe consider adding some of these elements to see if there's, if we can get some better results. So you hover over, it gives you some additional strategies, right? So maybe you want to address theoretical framework. Maybe you want to run a comparative analysis, right? To compare and contrast Gollum with other characters. or maybe you want to go into the literary symbolism, right? So yeah, I think this is what I'm really trying to get at. So thank you so much, Elicit, for fixing my question. And I may be able to take this question and run it through a different, system now too, add it to my search, string bank, asking these questions of other systems, right? So we're asking, how does Gollum's internal struggle and ultimate role in the destruction of the ring serve as a metaphorical exploration of the complex relationship between personal weakness and unexpected heroism? So I'm going to run the search, and the search is going to go through and try to find papers that address this question. Now, Elicit does have a corpus of about 250 million academic papers sourced from Semantic Scholar, PubMed, and OpenAlex. One thing to note, though, right, is this does give you access to preprint servers and that sort of thing. So be wary, know that, this might not necessarily go through the peer review process, but it's still grounded in this corpus of academic papers, which is their big push, is that they're not pulling from, blogs and other web content, but this is material that should go through at least some kind of editorial process. And then again, you can see we've got our 10 papers. We can read their titles, see when they were published, right? We got some that were published quite long ago. And then you've got your summaries, which you can go ahead and look through, right? Click through these little asterisks with the explanation, and it gives you a bit deeper, so that you can then take these, maybe save them to your library, maybe try to find the full text, and export or export. I believe you can. Oh yeah, you got it. You have to upgrade to export. But that's just the search function, right? Let me go back to Elicit. Like I mentioned, you can run a systematic review, and you can also run a research report. Now, I've done this before, so it does take a while. So once if you've run that search to find papers, you can take that search that's been refined, and maybe you're finding a little bit more, pop it into the research report, and it will give you a much more comprehensive, larger report. I'm going to show you a couple here. But this is pretty cool. So what I did was, we've talked a little bit about like the background of AI and how AI is trying to give you something that really pleases you, right? That kind of confirms what you're asking sometimes. So I had this question pop up about homeschooling as nationalist propaganda in pre-World War II Germany, and I knew that the answer was no, basically, right? That the National Socialists in pre-World War II Germany did not encourage homeschooling as a way to indoctrinate kids. What they did was quite the opposite. They co-opted and took over the public schooling, and then pushed their propaganda that way, and forced everybody to be in schools. But I asked the question anyway to see what the AI would say. Would it make stuff up? Would it hallucinate? So I asked, what evidence exists in primary historical documents documenting the use of homeschooling as nationalist propaganda tool in pre-World War II Germany? And you'll see right away, right? It doesn't really try to beat around the bush here. It doesn't try to massage it. It says right here, primary historical documents. Oops, why isn't it highlighting? Provide no evidence of homeschooling being used as nationalist propaganda tool in pre-World War II Germany. This is just to show you, right, that the screening process, that it's not trying to find a way to give you a yes answer, right? It's going to go in and pull from the data and give you an honest answer based on the grounded research. So I'm gonna actually pull up a better search here. How about this one here? I used this one for a faculty member who asked about it. The faculty member actually asked if we could use AI to just get started, to kind of see if we can find something about his question. So I suggested Elicit. He seemed to really like the results. I think he went on to purchase the full version so he could see a larger answer. But according to the report, Elicit gathered 100 sources, and after the screening, it screened 10 sources, and then extracted 60 data points. And then we have the report here. This is the report. We can generate the PDF, right, to share. But then as you scroll down, you'll see that we have this whole abstract. And again, you can click through to see what, more details on each of these points, right? And as you can continue with this, it gives you methodology, right? You can read more on the methods deployed for inclusion into the report. And then you can see a chart of the results, right? Where was the study context? What population was studied? What was the research method that was most prominent within the article? And what are some of the key focus areas? I'm not going to read the whole report, but you can see the study context, population studied, research method. So as you're going through, you can see, again, we're doing a literature review together, and this is part of what you would need to do with your literature to see what comes out and what you're finding here. We have distinct themes that are pulled out. So again, it's giving you some of this thematic areas where you might want to consider looking, or maybe okay, that's ground that's already been covered. What's something that hasn't been covered, right? Perhaps this could be an ideation tool that helps you to think through and come up with an idea that you might want to study yourself. And then of course we have our references, which you can download the RIS, right? And then take it into another tool like a Zotero or an EndNote. And if I go back, now you can also, let's see, where is it? So you can also chat with your report, right? So you've got this whole report, a bunch of text, and just like in JSTOR, we can ask questions about the results. It's going to go through and pull from that report, what we found. So we can ask it about how the different gender might have played a role, or socioeconomic status. We can ask it these different specific questions, and it will pull from the report like what has been said about that particular topic. And then so that was a list. Now I want to show you EndNote real quick, just super quick, so you can see this. So again, this is not an EndNote tutorial. This is an AI tools tutorial, but I have pulled up an article within EndNote. If this is your normal workflow is to get articles into EndNote, you can run the tool that goes and grabs the PDF. So here we go. We're reading a PDF right now, and there's this really, it's way too small, but there's this little bitty button with stars where you can pull up a research assistant, and it's going to generate a key takeaway. So here's our key takeaway across the top. It's very brief, very basic, and it's generated from the PDF itself. So it grabs the OCR, it reads it, and then it pulls what the main points are. But then you can also chat with it. So I asked it, what does this article say about McCarthyism? And I even misspelled McCarthyism, right? But then it came back with, okay, here's how we can understand McCarthyism's impacts. So boom, McCarthyism and libraries. It gives you a couple bullet points. You can read more if you want, and you can also continue asking questions. And then finally, I have our document is as you're writing, right? Maybe you're writing a paper, working on a manuscript, and I've got this 4-dimensional library research skill sets for AI literacy. As EndNote is built into Word, right? So you've gone through the store, you've downloaded the connection tool that connects Word with EndNote. You launch EndNote from here, and you can actually go ahead and find a journal, right, to publish your work. So, we've taken it from the brainstorming phase of research through the search process, through the literature review, your analysis, your writing, AI in the writing process, and then finally in the publication process. When you've got a final product and you're looking for a venue, you can launch this tool from the main menu. Click on Find a Journal. You're going to pop your title in, and then your abstract. I went ahead and grabbed the introduction in my first paragraph. it's recommended you put at least 100 words, but then you run a search to see if you can find a journal that matches. And here we go. It's given me 5 journals. The top journal is the journal's academic librarianship. It gives me the impact factor and a match score. I can view details. You can see the ranking of that journal, and then you can continue. You can review other journals that might be options for you, and then pick the appropriate venue for yourself. And that's my part of the demonstration. I'm going to go ahead and stop my share. Does anybody have any questions for us? I know we have 15 seconds, but we're here for you.
We had a couple questions in the chat. One was, do we have a subscription to Elicit? And unfortunately, we do not. But there is a free version that you can sign up for. Also, there was a question about subscription to EndNote, which you can get through Panther Tech. And Joanna, thank you for including the link to Panther Tech to get EndNote.
That's correct.
Yeah, we do get it, but it's not through the library. It's through Panther Tech.
Yes, Panther Tech. It's paid for by the university. It's a great value for EndNote. I mean, it's a couple $100 if you go out and buy it yourself. And yes, about Elicit, I know a lot of people really, really like it. It's a tool that I would probably personally advocate for if we ever had the funds to do that. And I know the university is moving, pretty fast on AI, trying to advocate for that. So as we get questions and feedback on Elicit, that certainly would be something that we could take to administration and say, this would be a great tool for us to use.
Any more questions? Anything?
Well, thank you for joining us for this AI tools and library research workshop. This is the start. You go out, you keep working, and you can reach out to us at any time. We're more than happy to provide consultations for anyone who needs help.
Thank you, Anthony.
Stopping the